Good morning. Again, morning for me. I know for some of you guys it's very late. So, good evening. Hopefully, we don't get you too wound up before you have to go to sleep. Those of you who are on the other side of the world. So, some of you are right here near me. So, welcome, Jared from Topeka, Kansas, just a stone's throw away. Actually, my parents used to live in Topeka. Well, not in Topeka. They used to live um, where did they live? Oh yeah, Valley Falls. You might be familiar with that, Jared. Um, but welcome this morning. Thank you for joining me on the live stream. Sorry about some confusion last week. I had announced that I was not going to be available last week for a live stream, but unfortunately, I forgot to post something before on Friday or on Saturday. We were actually out camping, so posting on Friday night would have been difficult because there's not a lot of great Wi-Fi out there or cell coverage out where we were. So it was a nice little spot to go to, but um, some some storms and some rain and wind. In fact, it was so windy it actually broke our tent. So I was not a happy camper. Ba-doom-tsh. All right. So, actually, I'm not really much of a camper myself, anyways. My wife really more is the one that likes to go camping. Of course, the kids like to go camping too. So, um, anyway, so I apologize for not letting everybody know, not reminding everybody that we didn't have the live stream last week. Hopefully we didn't lose a bunch of people from the project because we didn't have the live stream. But we are getting very very close to really starting to write code and taking this project fully on. There's just a couple things that I want to go through before we get there. So my goal is by the end of May to have started the actual coding of the project. So just so you kind of know where we're going with that, what we're hoping to do um, with that moving forward. So, um, excuse me, if you're new here, say hello. Well, if you're watching live, say hello in the chat. If you're new here, tell us where you're coming from, just like Jared did, and we'll say hi and be surprised about where you are because it's always surprising. I think the outside of Jared, the most recent person who was on here was from the UK, and of course we've got people from all over the world. Another one from Brazil. Welcome, Marcelo. Is it Marcelo or Marcello or Marcello? One, two, or three? Let me know. I'm assuming Marcelo, but I don't. That could be wrong. Um, my wife is bilingual, but I would assume from Brazil you're speaking Portuguese would be my guess, if I'm remembering correctly. Um, my wife is bilingual Spanish, but she can get Marcella. Awesome. Okay. But she can get. Oh, I need to hang on 1 second. Let me pop this chat out so I can stop looking to my left. How do I do that? There it is. Boom, 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 boom. There. Okay. Sorry. 1 second. This is what happens when you're unprepared. Okay. Side by side. One of the best features that Mac ever invented was this side by side screen. Oh, it's awesome. It makes life a whole lot easier. All right. And let me get rid of this. Boom. Okay. Now we're in business. Um, all right. So thank you for joining me live. I already see some of you have already put up some likes there on the live stream. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, it just helps YouTube think that people are actually enjoying this. And then if you're not subscribed, which you probably are if you're watching it live, but if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Click the bell icon so you're notified the next time I go live, which is usually every Saturday from 10 a.m. till usually 12 p.m. We try to get 2 hours in most of the time, but the first hour right now is mostly about the project and learning different things to help us along the way with the project. And eventually will be the project itself and talking through some of the code that you guys have written and things like that. So we're going through this project that we're building, and we'll get back to that here in just a second. But click the subscribe button. That'll remind you that we're here every Saturday morning, most of the time from 10 to 12. The second hour typically is more of a Q&A session. Today I do have to cut that short, where I said 11:30 I think in my post yesterday. I might actually have to cut that a little bit shorter. We've just got some more things, fun things at the end of the school year that we need to take care of, that kind of get in the way. They don't ask me if they can schedule things around my live stream time. So unfortunately I have no control over some of those things. So I'm going to have to cut it short a little bit today. Maybe next week we can go longer. We'll see what we have going on. But maybe make up for that, or maybe we'll do a surprise live stream sometime this next week. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But anyway, hit the subscribe button. That'll let you know when we're going live. If you are not a part of the Discord channel, just so that you know, this YouTube channel obviously is a YouTube channel. It's run like a lot of YouTube channels, right? We're trying to get subscribers, trying to get people to watch videos. We're putting videos up, things like that. But really the ultimate goal of the channel is to build a community. And part of that community will be here through YouTube. But the bigger part, and in my opinion, the most important part, is on the Discord channel at the moment. That may change in the future. I have some ideas of things I want to do in the future. But if you want to be a part of a community where junior devs and even senior devs can come together, help one another grow and learn and succeed in their careers, that's what we're trying to do with this channel. So join the Discord server, and there's multiple channels in there for Dev Mentor Dave Discord server. I always say I change channel and server a lot. I think technically it's a server, but because you have multiple channels. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. If you're new to Discord, it's an interesting world. I'm actually pretty new to Discord myself. So we'll kind of learn together as we figure out how to use that thing along the way. So like, subscribe, join the Discord. One other thing I did want to mention, I think I mentioned this last live stream, is that we are right around the time where I'm able to go through the process of monetization on this channel. So you're going to see some things, probably see some more ads. I'm going to do my best to limit that, because again, the purpose of the channel isn't for me to get rich. The purpose of the channel is to provide help for people. But that's a great option and help for creators that YouTube provides. So we will take advantage of that. One of the things you might notice is in the chat, there is a button now for super stickers and super chats. I'm not asking you to use that. I just wanted to let you know that it's there in case you accidentally click on it or something like that. You know what it is. I want to kind of throw it out to you guys. Do you guys have any ideas for how you might like to use that? I know a lot of creators will like use the super chats as a way for people to get their questions answered. I don't know that I necessarily want to go that route, because I mean, the goal isn't to make money off of helping people. I want to answer your questions. So if you @ me, if you put question marks in, that would be my preferred method. I don't want people paying to get their questions answered. That doesn't seem very fair. Maybe if we've got 100,000 people on the stream or something, that would make more sense. But for us, that's not what it's there for. I'm not asking that you guys do anything with that. I am not, I don't have any plans for it right now, but if you have ideas, things that you would like us to do with that, that's the royal us. It's just me. But if you have something that you think would be a good way to use that, let me know. Again, it's just kind of there. So again, please don't feel like you have to do that to get your questions answered or anything like that. If you have a question, do @ DevMentorDave in the chat, or put some question marks in front of it. And I will try to answer as many of those as I can as we go, or if it's something that's not really related to what we're talking about, I'll try to push it to the end and make a note of it. So just letting you guys know how that works. So usually the first 15 minutes of the stream is a lot of this kind of mumbo jumbo stuff, helping people who might be new to kind of understand what's going on, what we're doing, how everything works. So I have not surprisingly enough, looked at our account yet this morning. But for those who don't know, our goal, my goal was to reach 5,000 subscribers. That was kind of my main goal from like a YouTube standpoint, to reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Um, you guys are awesome. And things have kind of, at least for me, started to explode a little bit over the last month or so. So just to keep everybody up to date, we are at not seven, 2,000. Whew, that would have been a big jump. 2,794 subscribers. So just shy of 2,800 subscribers. So if we have 6 people on here that are not subscribed, subscribe so we can hit 2,800 on the live stream. That'd be fun. But anyway, so we are pushing towards, so we are less than half a year, less than halfway through the year, and over 50% now on the subscribers. So I wouldn't be surprised at the rate that's going if we don't hit that 5,000 mark by the end of the year. So we will do something. I know Mel keeps beating the drum for some sort of cake. I'm not sure why I don't understand, Mel, quite. Are you wanting me to just eat the cake in front of you? I can't send the cake to everybody. So I don't know. I don't know exactly how that works or what we'll do. But we'll do something fun to celebrate 5,000 subscribers when that happens. Obviously on a live stream so that people can participate. So, oh, you want me to cook the cake? Oh, man. Yeah, I forgot that part. Can it be like a mix or something like that? Because I don't want to eat anything that I make from scratch for sure. So hopefully this is going a little bit faster. When I kind of got that first level of monetization, it looks like it gave me like a faster latency. So it seems like I can kind of respond to you guys faster, and you guys are streaming more closely, which is cool. So I don't know, maybe that's a perk. We'll see. All right. Carrot. No, not the carrot cake. Come on, Mel. You know I don't do carrot cake. We've talked about this. Okay. Let's see. One other thing I wanted to do before we jump in, which is why we probably won't have a lot of Q&A today. And that is, I just want to kind of let you know, again, I'll be doing some more recording. Last week was a bit rough after being sick and camping and all that fun stuff. But I have several topics. I want to kind of give you some ideas of what some of those upcoming videos are going to be. And then I also want to kind of just let you know, again, remind you, let me know what things you're interested in. So one of the things that I hear a lot in the comment section and private messages, things like that, outside of people asking me to be their mentor, I get a lot of questions about, what path should I go down? What should I choose? What should I be learning right now? And I understand exactly why you're asking those questions. And I get the frustration of not knowing the right way to do things. But the reality is everybody's journey is different. And it depends on what your goals are. And so one of the videos that I'm working on right now is actually a walkthrough of, if I were starting today and I were just picking a specific thing that I wanted to become, like I wanted to be a DevOps engineer, right? So how would I go about creating my own plan instead of relying on somebody else to tell me the right way to do things? How would I go about creating my own plan? And so I'm going to make a video, hopefully for this week, that's going to kind of walk through that process of helping you determine what those things should be that you learn, and how you should go through that process. And again, that's going to be something that everybody does differently. There is no perfect way to do it, but that's one of the videos that I'm working on. Another video early on, I did some information about, what to look for in a mentor. I'm going to refresh some of that, mostly because the video is not as good quality. So I'm going to refresh some of that and get that out there for you guys. Another one I've actually been working on for a while and talking with some old coworkers is a video about female developers. Because, looking at my statistics, I've got about 3% of the people who watch are female. And I totally get that. I'm not saying that, they should be watching this channel, but it's an interesting statistic. There's some great female dev YouTubers out there, so I assume that they're certainly flocking to that channel, and I'm not expecting them to flock to this channel, but I just wanted to make a video to give you guys some encouragement, because I've worked with some really awesome female developers over the years. In fact, almost all the developers, almost all the female developers I've worked for have been really great. And I really want to emphasize one story as well, of a coworker of mine. I've already talked to her and gotten some information from her and things like that. So hopefully that's somewhat interesting to you guys as well. So we'll kind of tackle that. But if you have other ideas, obviously I'm constantly coming up with ideas and seeing, questions that people have and issues that people are running into. I can't make a video on everything. One of the great things about the Discord channel is I see a lot of people sharing other videos and sharing information, and that's exactly what that is for. So please keep doing that. Please keep helping one another, sharing videos, even if they're not mine. Anything that's going to help other people grow. That's what we want that Discord channel to be. So keep that up, but let me know if you have any ideas for topics that you'd like me to do, and we will do that. All right, now that we've wasted 20 minutes of time diving into nothing to do with the project, let's talk about the project. So just a reminder for anybody who might be new here, I'll take a look at the chat here in just a second. I want to get caught up. But for anybody who might be new here to the channel, new to the live stream, we are currently in the process of building a project together as a community. I'm running it as both the client and the lead developer. So we'll be going through the whole process from start to finish, from the idea to the planning, to the development, to the testing, to the deployment, and actually using it in real life. And so we'll go through all kinds of different aspects of that process. And we have not started writing code yet, but we will be in the next few weeks. All right. So by the end of May, we will have a repository, and you'll have the ability to start pushing code up. So that project specifically is budgeting software, and we won't talk about that so much today as we're talking about tickets, but just so you know, we're building our own budgeting software. Go back and look at past live streams, especially the first live streams in this series, to get more understanding of what we're actually building, how you can participate in that. And FYI, everybody who has asked for access, say that 3 times fast, everyone who's asked for access to the homework repo has been given it. If you are on that request form, you will also get access to the project repository when that is live. So I will automatically push everybody that's requested access there. So if you want to get access to the homework and or the code repository when we start the project, there is a link to the form to request access in the Discord channel. So another reason to jump in the Discord channel. All right. All right. That's everything for the project. Let's talk about tickets. I've got more intro stuff, but I talked too long, so I'm going to skip it. All right, let's talk about tickets. What in the world do I mean when I say a ticket? Usually tickets are not good things. If you're getting a ticket when you're driving, that's a very bad thing. It could be a really, really bad thing, especially if you don't have a license or something like that. So when we talk about tickets, what we're really talking about is a specific scope of work, or a specific amount of work that has been usually assigned to you. So usually you'll have some sort of board. Usually it'll be an electronic board, a digital board, where you will have these tickets or cards, and that ticket will have all the information, hopefully, that you need to be able to do what it's asking you to do. And so today we're going to kind of talk through how tickets work, what you should be looking for in a ticket. And the reason why I'm doing this is not so much so that you can write your own tickets, although this will hopefully be helpful for you in writing your own tickets. One of the things that I've started doing in the last few years is actually, I've always taken notes in a notebook when I started a project, but I've actually started breaking down work into tickets just so I can keep track of what I'm doing, so I can keep track of where I am in the process, so I can put all my thoughts about a specific piece of the project in one place. And so I would recommend that you write tickets for even your own personal projects, just because it will help you think through everything that needs to be done for that piece of work. Um, that's one of the biggest and most important pieces of writing tickets. So, um, so learn this, but don't feel like you have to learn it exactly the way that I'm going to do it. I've worked for lots of different companies over the years, and all of them have done tickets differently. Different project managers have done tickets differently. Different lead developers have done tickets differently. Even in my company, the different leads write tickets differently. Um, and tickets are going to be written differently depending on who you're giving the ticket to. For example, I would put a much more detailed ticket together for somebody that I know is a junior developer, somebody that I know is new to the code base. But for somebody like most of the devs that I work with, they're very seasoned developers. They're very used to jumping into brand new code bases, so I don't need to just give them a bunch of information about the code base either. They're used to figuring that stuff out. And so for them, the tickets that I give them, and they're able to take a concept and kind of flesh it out in their own mind. Their tickets are going to be usually less involved. They might include a design, basic ideas of what needs to be done, and they just kind of run with it. And that's the type of developers that we're looking for, and that's the type of developer that should be your goal. Your goal should be a developer who can know the code base well or learn it quickly, and then be able to take a ticket that maybe is not the best written ticket and still be able to get the work done well, and right the first time as much as possible. So that's the goal. But most of the tickets that we write for this project are going to be pretty detailed. They're going to try. I'm going to try to give you as much information as I can to help you be able to do the task. And so let's talk about what that looks like. So usually you'll have tickets. Usually it's going to be on a digital board. I have actually worked in projects where we use sticky notes. We would have either a whiteboard or just on the wall. I've actually worked at companies where we had a wall and somebody put like painter's tape up to create these different columns, and we would physically move sticky notes until they ran out of stickiness. We would physically move them through the board to help us track where we were at with different pieces of work. That wasn't the best process because those tickets didn't have a whole lot of detail in them. It was pretty much just like a single statement or feature name. So we're gonna do a little bit better than that. But I have worked in that environment, so where it's just literally a feature name, and you got to figure out everything that needs to be done or ask questions or whatever. And it's all physical, but we'll go with the digital route, obviously, because we're all in different places all over the world. So, but yeah, so your tickets we're gonna have a board. In fact, I'll show you that here a little bit later, what that's gonna look like up in GitHub. So there's lots of different places you can get that type of tool. There's Trello, there's GitHub projects, there's Jira if you want to spend money. There's I think like Monday.com has a board. There's lots of different things that you can do. Lots of different software you can use. In fact, I mean, you could technically use like Google Docs if you wanted to create this style of process. But we're going to talk through tickets and understanding those. And it's important that you understand how a ticket works, that you understand what a good ticket looks like, so that if you get a bad ticket, if you get an incomplete ticket, you understand that and you're not spinning your wheels. You're not sitting here looking at this ticket going, I don't know what to do with this. And you don't ask any questions because you feel like, well, it's probably your fault if you don't understand the ticket. More than likely it's not. More than likely it's just somebody needs to help you out and write some more information. So let's talk about what are kind of the main components of a ticket that you might see. I don't necessarily have all of these components in the tickets that I write. Again, currently, the tickets that I write for the people that I work with are pretty sparse. But other companies have a much more rigid standard of what they want tickets to look like. In fact, sometimes they'll even have templates for you to look at and copy or fill in, that will tell you this is how we create a ticket. But we're going to go through some of the pieces of a ticket that you might see in tickets, and explain what they're there for, and how you use them, and what you should kind of expect when you're doing that. So we're actually going to write a ticket out right now. So if I can find my there we go. Okay. So we're actually going to write out a ticket here, as we go through this, and just kind of talk about these different pieces of kind of the anatomy of a ticket and what you should expect, honestly, from me, and what you probably shouldn't expect from me on this project as we go through it. All right. So the very first thing that you're going to see is a title, right? So you're going to have some sort of title that might be the only thing that you really see, or the main thing that you see on the card or the ticket itself, until you click on it and open it up. And so this is really, in my opinion, this is the most important piece of the ticket, so that it catches your attention. It tells you right away what area of the code base you're going to be working in. It tells you what the goal of it is, right? So this could make or break your, when you're sifting through looking at the tickets that are assigned to you, or looking to pick up a ticket. This will help you know what it is without clicking on every single one, right? So, and that's the goal. The goal is for the title to be very clear and descriptive, to help you understand what needs to be done before you get into all the nitty-gritty details. All right. I need some coffee. Hang on. Let me look here real quick here. All right, I'll try to get that question, Marcelo, at the end. Let me copy it here. Again, don't forget, if you're asking a question, try to @DevMentorDave, or put some question marks in front of it, just so I can catch it a little bit faster, because I may not, if you guys start talking a lot, I may not read a lot of that stuff. So that'll just help catch my eye. Okay, so let's write a title. Typically what I like to do is start the title off with an indication of whether it's front end or back end. Now, this could depend on whether you have multiple repositories. Excuse me. So some projects that I've worked on have a front end repository, and that gets deployed separately. You have a back end repository that's just like the APIs or whatever. Our project will just have one repository that will include both the PHP framework, Laravel, and it will include the front end code. And we'll actually have a walkthrough of the code base before we start. So that's coming as soon as I get it all set up. So I try to let people know, hey, this is front end, or this is back end, or sometimes, especially with senior devs, you'll get a ticket that you're supposed to do both. And I try to put information in the ticket that lets you know that it is for both. So usually if you don't see like front end or back end, or maybe like API for the back end, or web for the front end, and I try to capitalize this and do a colon, just because that's just a quick reference point, right? It says, I know that this ticket is only dealing with that part of the code base. So I'm only going to have to deal with this piece, because a lot of times we'll split people up and have some people work on the back end, some people work on the front end. Even if it is in the same repository, we'll still do that. So this just helps let people know, hey, this is where I'm going to be working in the project for this ticket. So if you've got somebody that's a back-end dev, they're going to ignore this ticket because it's it's a front-end dev. It's a front-end ticket, right? That just helps. It's a quick way of them seeing what this ticket is related to. All right. So we're going to do a web ticket. And then I would give a very short description of basically what the outcome of this ticket should be. Another thing that you might do, or that you might see, is something like this, right? So if this is a bug ticket, if this is something that we found in the process, I would do something like web bug, and then the description of the bug, um, just to again help you know, hey, this is an issue that I'm going to be fixing. This is not some new thing that I'm going to be working. I don't typically do feature just because that takes up a lot more space than bug does. And the assumption that I would have is that if it's not a bug, then it is a feature. So um, that's kind of how I do things. So web, and we're gonna do. Let's see, what's a ticket we should create? I didn't write these down before I started. So let's do. We'll do. We're not doing users, but create user list. I usually typically, I think, what is this, Pascal? So each one's typically uppercase for each word. Again, it's just like more of a title. I feel like that catches your attention a little bit better. All right, so create user list. So theoretically, that's enough information for you to know what you're going to build out. Maybe I would expand on this a little bit more and say table. So you know that, hey, this is not just going to be a list. It's going to be more of a table layout. So I'm going to have, obviously I'm going to be creating a table. I'm going to be creating a table with multiple columns most likely, whereas create user list might just give you the idea of, hey, I just need a list of users, right? So adding something like this, a simple word like that, gives you more information about what that ticket is expecting. All right. So I know, looking at this, if I look at a ticket like this, I may think, well, that's a pretty simple ticket, right? And then I go table, well, that's still a simple ticket, but it's more involved. I'm going to have to write more code to do a user list table than I am to do just a user list. All right. So the information in that title can be extremely valuable to you when you're looking for a ticket, when you're trying to determine which ticket to do next. Now, sometimes there's going to be a priority on them. A lot of the different software will give you the ability to set priorities outside. So I don't usually set like a high priority or something like that. But if I'm working a system that doesn't, sometimes I will do that just to give you an idea of how important this ticket is. Usually, there's another thing here. So we would do hotfix. So that's something that just tells you right away, this needs to be done super fast because this is a very, very important bug. Let's see. Those are most of the things that I would see in here. So I know, looking at this title, I know this is just the front end. So I'm only dealing with front end code, and I'm going to be creating a user list table. I'm going to have to build a table. It's going to intake probably a list of users from somewhere. I don't know where that is yet, but it's going to take those users and it's going to put them out in a table. Now, there may be a lot more information that needs to be disseminated about this process and about these expectations. So just telling you create a list of users in a table doesn't do it, right? So we still need to have a description. So typically you have a title and then you have a description. And this will typically be another box or something like that inside the ticket creation process. And so this is where, let's do this. We'll do, so we can kind of make it look somewhat like a ticket. Oh, okay. All right. So the description. So here's where I'm going to get more involved in determining how I want you to do things, right? So for a junior developer, this should be much more specific. For a senior level developer, that's going to be less specific. It's going to be something that they're going to have a little bit more leeway in writing. But for here, for example, I want to tell you hopefully everything that you need to build the table that I'm expecting you to build. All right. So the description would probably be something like, create a table that lists users with the following columns of information. All right. And so then I would tell you what columns I want in this table. All right, so the first one would be name. And I would typically tell you if I know the database attribute, the database columns, I would tell you that. So maybe something like first name, last name, right? And then let's say for users, I'm going to do email, and that's just their email. And then I want, what was I going to say? Let's do birthday. So this would be birthday, or maybe DOB. Might be the actual column name. And then lastly, I want actions. All right. Now these actions are going to be edit and delete. All right. So these will be, typically you would have some sort of design that you would want to attach to this as well. So I might do something like C attached design for layout and icons. All right, so this would tell you, hey, make sure you see the design that's attached to this picture. Another thing that I'll often do if I'm breaking out visualization and functionality is I'll typically call that out. So I'll do something like note. This is for layout only. Functionality is in a separate ticket. This is where my bad spelling is going to get me in trouble. That says that doesn't look right. Is it an E? Maybe it's right. I don't know. All right. So functionality is in a separate ticket, and that could be functionality for the edit button. Could be functionality for the delete button. It could be functionality for loading in the users. How are we going to get that? So another thing I would add here is use a static array of user data for testing. All right. So when you create this piece of code, I'm going to expect you to hard code a static array of this information about users so that we can see when we pull that code down, we test it, we can see those users are laid out in the table and they're laid out the way that the design has given us. All right. So this would be typically what I would try to do for a ticket, especially for your junior developer. You'll have a design attached to it. You'll have the columns that I want, the information where that should be coming from. And the reason why I would give you this information is so that you can A, put that into this static array of users, and then B, you can use the actual values that you would be getting back from the database, right? So this would be the actual keys that would be coming back from the database, most likely, unless for some reason we change that out. All right. So we have a title that gives you hopefully a really good idea of what you're actually building. We have a description that tells you all the information that you need to build that specific thing. Now, let's say you are working on this ticket and you look at the designs and you notice, you know what, in the upper right hand corner of this design, I see that there is an add button. Now, looking at this ticket, there is no mention of an add button. All right. So there's two things you can do. You can either assume that I knew what I was doing and I wrote a ticket that it does not include the add button. It's only for the table, and that the add button is going to be in a different ticket. Well, there's three things you could do. You can assume that the ticket is just fine and just do only what the ticket says. You could, four things. You could look at that, see the button, and just add the button to your code with the assumption that the functionality for that button will be added later. You could ask if I missed that, which is probably the best thing to do. Ask, because that's a pretty quick question, right? Hey Dave, did you mean for me to do this add button as well? No, that's not part of this ticket. All right, cool. Super quick, super simple. That doesn't mean that you're dumb. If you're asking that question, you're not dumb. The ticket doesn't talk about it. It's in the design, right? So if I were doing giving you a better design, I would give you just a cropped portion of the piece that I want you to work on. I might give you the whole thing for a greater visual so you understand where that fits in. But hopefully you would have at least one design that shows exactly what you're working on. The fourth thing that you could do is actually go look at the tickets. And this might be the best first step, in my opinion. But go look through the other tickets that are in that maybe are not just assigned to you, but maybe assigned to other people, and see if there's another ticket for that create user add button, right? And if you see a ticket there, then you don't have to ask me. Hey, this is not part of this because somebody else is going to have a ticket, or I might have that ticket later on. So I don't need to do that piece in here. So kind of going back to, I did a video a while back about, why senior devs hate hate helping you. Do some research. So I would look through the list of tickets first, see if there's a ticket that talks about that button. And if you don't see it and it's not in here, ask a question. I'd rather you ask, and most senior devs would rather that you ask whether something was missed, and so it gives them an opportunity to make sure that they didn't miss something, rather than just assuming that you don't have to do it or assuming that you should do it. You really need to try to stick within the vein of the ticket itself as much as possible. And if the ticket doesn't give you enough information, that's on the lead or the project manager or whoever built that ticket to make sure that they give you the information that they need. So never feel bad about asking questions. However, your goal should be, as much as possible and as soon as possible, to be able to take the ticket that you're given and make the right assumptions. And that does take time. It takes time because you have to get to know the person who's writing the tickets and how they think. So if they tend to write tickets but expect you to add things to it, you'll learn that over time. Hopefully they'll get better at writing tickets over time for you and learn what you need, but you'll also learn how they think about their tickets and how they think about the link between design and the ticket. And so you'll understand that better over time if you're paying attention, right? So make sure that you're paying attention in that process. But this would be a fairly typical ticket that we would have in our system, and we would have a design that's attached. So questions that you might have, what font are we using? Font Awesome? Are we using something else? Hopefully that's already been laid out for you just in the repository itself. You can look at that and say, hey, we're using Font Awesome. Or if we're using something like Figma, you see that it's a Font Awesome icon or something like that, which is probably what we'll end up using, would be my guess. So you don't have to ask those questions. But sometimes you get a weird icon in a design and it's not part of the icon set that you're using, and you might have to be like, hey, where did this icon come from, right? Simple things like that you may not even think about until you get into actually working on the ticket. So what I typically suggest is read through the ticket multiple times. Kind of as you're reading through the ticket, plan out how you want to attack working on this ticket, because the ticket should help you walk through the thought process of what you're actually going to develop. And planning is the most important thing for any development project, even it's just small one-time ticket that you're doing. So walk through the ticket, make sure in your mind you can visualize the different pieces that you need to write. On the design, you can see the different pieces that you need to write. Use that imagination. If you haven't seen that video, use that imagination and think through that process so that you can have a plan and so that you can catch what things might be missing in the information that I currently have. All right, so the two biggest and most important things that you need is a good description, and is a good title, a descriptive title, and a good description. Now, there may be times in the description where, for somebody who's maybe new to the code base, and we used to do this on a project that I work for another company, where we would actually have notes in there that would tell you these are the files that you should start in, right? So it might be something like you need to start in resources. We'll do root resources slash js slash components, or maybe it'd be something like new. So you're going to create a new file, and this would be user list table dot view because it's better. Or TS for React. Anyway, we're going to go with view because it's better. All right. Excuse me. So user list table dot view. So this tells me, hey, I'm going to have to create a file for this. I'm not adding this to another file. So I'm creating a new component. So this is, again, just some more information that might help somebody who's new, helps them start in the right place so that they don't have to go out and figure out. And you saw it just took me, 15 seconds to write that out. And this is where lead developers are really useful for creating tickets. A lot of times companies will have like project managers create tickets. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't have a developer actually vet the ticket. They should, because a developer can come in here and put things like this in here. Or if it's not a new file, if they're editing or if they're fixing a bug, they can give them an idea of where to start, where they think the problem might be. And that may not be this may not be the only file that needs to be touched in this code, but it's a good starting point. It's a place for somebody to be able to jump in. So that's another thing that I will try to add to our tickets. I will try to get the extension correct since we're using React, but I may do this to you on purpose just to spite everyone who voted for React. But no, I'm just kidding. So that might be another piece of the detail that would be very helpful for you guys. It's something that I've put in other tickets as well. So these are the two main pieces of a ticket. The two most important pieces of a ticket are the title and the description. Now, there are other pieces that you might see in tickets from other places, from other people, depending on their processes. So like if they have a QA department, there may be parts of the ticket where they put in, sorry, CW, I'm going to hate on React. No, it's okay. I'm getting more used to it the more that I use it, but I still think Vue's better. Off topic. Okay. So there are other things that people will often put in tickets. There are other programs that people use that have different fields for these other things because different people add them to their project, to their flow of managing a project. We're not going to add these, but I want you to be aware of them. So one thing that you might see, I'm going to jump back over here because I'm not going to write anything. Well, I might write something. Hang on. All right. So one thing that you might see is what's something that's called acceptance criteria. And this would be typically added by either the project manager or somebody from QA. Right? So a QA person might come in here and they'll say, okay, in order for this ticket to be done, I need to see a list of users in a table format with their first and last name in the first column, email address in the second column, and what we say, date of birth in the third column. And this is where having some of these processes might cause you to change your description too. So somebody comes in here and says, I want to see the date of birth in the third column, but I want to see it in this format, June 30, 1981. That's a very special date, just FYI. All right. So June 30, 1981. That's the format that I want to see. Now, we didn't say anything about a specific format up here. We probably have that format in the design, but that's something that you need to watch for, right? So when you're looking at the design, am I just putting the date out the way that I want to, or am I putting the date out in a way that matches the design? I would probably have it this way in the design, even though I didn't call it out specifically here. So you need to be able to kind of make those connections. But a person who's writing acceptance criteria might specifically call that out in their acceptance criteria to make sure that they, when they look at what's done, they can see that this has been done correctly. Let's do like, and let's do, and the following icon in the fourth column, pencil icon for edit, and trash icon for, oops, for delete. All right. So you might see something like this. They might write it differently. They might have it in bullet points or check boxes. They might do something like, there should be a minimum of 5 users in the table. Okay. Again, this is acceptance criteria that was not part of the requirements here. So if QA says, I want to see this, we might come back in here and say something like, use a static array of user data for testing and include at least 5 users in the static data. All right. That's a little wordy, but it just gives you an idea. So we might come back and update this ticket before we get started. Now, something else that might happen along the way as you're working on this ticket is there might be a change. All right. So we might decide we don't want to put the user's date of birth anymore. All right. Because that's personal information that we don't want in the list for whatever reason. But we're not going to do that. We could just come in here and delete the birthday and remove all references to the birthday down here. We could do that. What I would rather do is leave the record of what we had before and add an update. So I would go into the description and I would do something like this. Update. And I would do something like 5-4. May the 4th be with you. Maybe I would put my name or something like that so I know who did this. But I'm going to do an update section in the description. All right. We are no longer going to display the date of birth. All right. So now I've updated this. So when you're creating this ticket, if you see an update, you know, okay, I need to take a look here. You may not catch, if I just delete this and you've already built that column out, you may not catch that it's missing. All right. So that's why we want to call things out in an actual update part of the description. So you can see, hey, there's been an update since I started working on this ticket. This is what we're going to do now. So we'll probably have some of these along the way, just FYI, where we make changes to our plan. Yes, I'm going to be mean. So, now somebody might update their acceptance criteria. You know, they might do the same thing down here. Or they might just make the assumption, hey, look for any updates. Maybe they'll even add it here. Look for updates in description that may affect. This is where having like a template or something that you could put this in, like here. Maybe there's a star, you know, something like that. Something that you could do to where it's just it's always there in your acceptance criteria. But anyway, so the acceptance criteria is more for somebody who's in QA. It does help you to make sure, hey, I've got my description of what I'm building, but what is QA going to expect to see? So that would be something that, especially in a larger organization where they have like quality assurance people, they're going to want to make sure that they're giving them information and instructions on how to accept or decline your work, and gives you an idea of what they're going to expect as you're working on the ticket. All right. Sometimes you will receive the same ticket back if it fails QA. Sometimes they'll create a new ticket. It depends on the process. Most of the time I've seen people just send the ticket back to you. All right. But acceptance criteria is a fairly common thing. I don't use it as much. We don't have a QA department that is dedicated to like a single project or things like that. So that takes time to write that acceptance criteria. So you may or may not see that along the way. Let's see. Here's a question. What if you take a ticket, then realize someone could do a better job? Should you complete the ticket knowing it'll need to be updated later? That's a really good question. Usually for junior developers, you're not necessarily grabbing your own tickets. Most of the time, a junior developer is going to get tickets assigned to them. Um, Generally, you grab tickets if you are a senior developer and you're on a team of more senior developers. That's where typically what you will do is you'll try to grab tickets that are your strengths. But if you get assigned a ticket that is not your strength, what I would do first is talk to your lead and say, hey, this isn't my strength. I'm willing to work on it. I'm worried that, give that same question to your lead and let them decide, because they may just want it to be a learning experience for you. They may just want it to be an opportunity for you to expand your skills, to learn to do something that you don't think that you can, and maybe prove to yourself that you can do it. So I would probably just talk to the lead. Most likely though, if they assigned it to you, they want you to do it, and it's either the other person doesn't have time, and so they're okay with maybe having to go back. And that's the thing. I would not assume, Mel, that you're going to have to go back and refactor it. Like, don't think so lowly of yourself, just because it may be true. It may be true that you won't be able to write it as well as somebody else. That doesn't mean that what you write is bad. That doesn't mean that what you write doesn't work for the ticket, right? Just because one person would do it a different way, or what others might consider a better way, doesn't mean that your code is wrong. It does, so that's something to remember when we talk about writing code. I actually started watching a video from Primogen last night. He was talking about solid principles, and he's talking about how he doesn't follow, like, he agrees with some of the principles, but he doesn't follow them strictly, right? And I would totally agree with that. Everybody writes code differently, and we all approach problems differently. And so we need to be careful about assuming that the way that we approach it's going to be wrong or worse than the way somebody else approaches it. It could be more code, could take us longer, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily worse or that it's wrong. And so I would first say, I would push back on thinking that you doing the ticket means it's going to have to be redone. Don't assume that. All right. And then secondly, I would typically assume that if it's been assigned to you, that your lead knows your capabilities and your limits, and they want you to either stretch that, or they just need you to do it. They just need you to figure it out due to time or availability of others and things like that. So that's how I would go. But if you really are concerned about it, I talk to them and let them basically confirm those realities for you. But if you're grabbing tickets, obviously it's better if you can work on something that you know, but sometimes there may not be a ticket that you know better. And you just may have to pick something up, try to pick up the thing that you feel like you can work on the best. And if you have questions, ask questions. Part of the learning process is asking questions. Don't feel dumb if you're asking questions. All right. So that kind of brings me to the assignment portion. Sometimes you can pick up your own tickets. Sometimes it'll be assigned to you. Sometimes they will have a due date. Now, a lot of companies do things like sprints, where you have like a week or 2 weeks and you have to get a certain amount of work done in that time period. Obviously we're not doing that with our project, but so there might be like a due date. There might be an expectation of a certain number of tickets that you need to get done, or a certain number of points that you need to get done. We're not going to talk about that. We're not even going to worry about it. All right. That's something I'll let somebody else deal with that. If you want me to write a video about it, I'll do it. I'll do something on that. but we're not talking about dating or hours or points or anything like that. But you might have a due date. You might have a point in time where you have to have things done, and that'll usually be, there's usually some sort of piece of the ticket that you can connect to or that you can use to be able to manage that information. So this is typically how we're going to write tickets here. This is how you should see most of them as we create them. So let me kind of show you what we'll actually be using for our project. And then, let's see, jump over here and jump over here. Here we go. All right. So this is, I believe it's called a Kanban board. I honestly don't even know what that means. I've been developing with these boards for over a decade now. I don't even know what they're called. But anyway, this is a pretty typical project board. That's what I'm going to call it, project board. This is the DeepPockets project. And as you can see right now, there's only one ticket in it. And that one ticket is assigned to me. Usually they'll have a way for you seeing if these tickets are assigned to somebody by an icon or by their names or something like that. So this, the name, of course I didn't write this correctly because I just did it for myself. Typically this would be in all caps, right? Set up base project in the repository. So I've got a repository set up that's connected to this project, and you'll be able to access this project when you have access to the repository project. GitHub's a little weird in their naming of things. Anyway, so we have one ticket, and there are multiple columns here, and these columns will all be different based on the company that you're working for, the project that you're on. We have our own methodology that we use at my company, and most of the columns are the same. Sometimes people create their own columns. This is to help us go through the process of making sure that a ticket goes through all the steps that it needs to go through. So you might have more columns. You might only have 3 columns. You might have backlog ready and done, or backlog working and done, or something like that, right? And I haven't decided what columns we're going to have here, but we're going to use this to move tickets through. So as I get done, you know, if this is a ticket that's in a backlog, that means it's tickets that I'm working on, that I'm creating. They're not ready for you to pick up. They're not ready to be assigned to anybody. But once they are, I can move them over to the ready. If I realize I need to add more information, I can move them back to the backlog. There's lots of different applications that do this. So if it's ready, theoretically it would not be in draft mode. Let's see, convert to issue. Nope. Let me just click on this. So this opens things up. The status is ready. I can set a priority over here. Let me, oops, a little too big. And let me move me, because everything's over on the left. Let's see. Un momento, por favore. All right. Boom. There we go. Okay. So over here on the right-hand side, you can hopefully see that a little bit better. We've got who it's assigned to, and I can change that. The status, you can change the status here, or you can move the ticket manually. Priority. So I'll probably create some priorities here so we know which ones are the most important. Size, I don't even know what this is. We're not using that. Estimate, we're not using. Start date, end date, we're not using. But those are some more pieces of information that you could have on your tickets that would tell you when things are supposed to be done, what their importance level is, things like that, right? So here's our poorly written title and our very sparse description here. So the title is set up the base project in the repository and update the repository with the latest Laravel, React, Tailwind, set up the local dev environment with Sail. We'll get into that when we talk about the environment stuff. So that's a very basic ticket, very simple ticket. So I could edit the title here if I wanted to, pin it in the side panel. I don't know what that is. All right, so here's our columns again. Let's create another item. GitHub's a little weird. We're going to create our ticket here. So web create user list table, even though this is not a ticket that we're actually going to have, I'm going to put it here just for now. So I'm going to hit enter, and that's going to create this. I don't know why this is in draft mode. Why is it in draft? I'll have to figure that out. I don't know why it says draft. Oh well. All right. So now I can go in here and edit this. So I want to get rid of this. Edit title. I don't need the hash mark. That's from my editor. Save. All right. So then I can go back to our description. I'm going to put the description in here. Not the update, because we're going to keep the description the way that it is. Oh, edit. And now this is a WYSIWYG, right? What you see is what you get. And of course, this guy's in the way again. So let me move him back over here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So we will add this. We can preview what it's going to look like. We can make changes. So let's say I want to break this down. Maybe I want to turn these into bullets. Something like that, just to make it easier to see. If I would have a link potentially here, or I can paste in some files. So I said see attached design for layout and icons. So I would paste in or drag some files there. Oop, don't look at that. All right. So and then I would update the information, and there you go. So does this have, I don't think this has a way of leaving comments. Let's close that. So this is available. Can you comment on these? Nope. All right. So once this is ready, then I would move it to ready, and then somebody could pick it up. Now, again, nobody's assigned to this yet, so I could assign it to somebody. It's in the ready status. So this is how we will manage our tickets. All right. Just so you're familiar with the process, I will update the columns. We'll talk about that in more detail on the project later on. So there. Anyway, any questions on how tickets should be written, what you should do with them? I think most people probably have a general idea of how tickets should work. But I wanted to walk through that process with you, both to let you know what we're going to do, as well as give you a little bit of a foundation so that you know what is a good ticket, what is not a good ticket. If you're writing a bug ticket, the bug ticket should include the steps that it took to produce that bug, to reproduce that bug. So I need to be able to know, okay, what do I need to do so that I can see what's causing the issue. If a senior dev is giving the bug ticket and they have an idea where the issue is, putting that in there can be helpful as well. Especially for junior developers, I want to try to give you as much information as I can to point you in the right direction, to give you success as quickly as possible. Yeah, they come in t-shirt sizes. I don't get that. I've never used that. It's weird. But I have heard of other people doing that, so it's not abnormal. All right. So great question, Mel. Am I going to be assigning tickets, or will people be able to request them? As we start off, what's going to happen is we're going to have a community ticket. So we'll do one ticket at a time, and everybody who's participating will work on the same ticket. The reason for that is I want to go through the process of taking a ticket, working on a ticket, submitting a pull request, and doing pull request reviews, right? So I want to start off with everybody kind of doing the same thing, just like we did from the schema standpoint. So I think next week we're gonna finalize our database schema, and we'll look at some of the things that I've seen that are good, some of the things that maybe we don't want to do from some of the stuff that you guys have submitted. So if you have not submitted that on the homework project or in the Discord channel, make sure you submit those. We'll try to go through some of them, or I'll at least go through them and look at what people have put together so that we can talk about what our initial final database schema is going to be. But I forget what I was saying. Oh, so it's just gonna be one ticket at a time. Right now, it'll kind of work that same way. Everybody's gonna work on the same thing together, and we may not pull in anybody's PR unless we just have one that I really think is perfect to do. I might just make a PR for some of those initial tickets for the first pieces. Um, but we will eventually get to where I will actually give tickets in the repository and let you guys choose them, because I don't work with you all every day. I don't know what your strengths are and your weaknesses are, so it'll be more of a pick and choose. And I'm going to try to create enough tickets for everybody who's actively working on the project. So that's another thing. If you make sure that you're staying in communication with me, either through the live streams, through the Discord channel, and letting me know that you are active in the project, so that I make sure that I have enough tickets for people as we go through and build the different pieces of the project. Especially early on, you kind of have to build a foundation of tickets so that you can build features on top of those. So that's why another reason why those initial tickets will be really limited, because I want to build a good foundation first as we walk through that project process. And then we'll kind of give people more of an opportunity to really be a normal dev, sort of, and grab a ticket and work on it and push PR and have it rejected and all that fun stuff. So that's how we're going to go through it. Hopefully that makes sense, Mel, and everybody else. Any other questions on the project? I do want to hit that one question that came in from Marcella before I jump off, but I'm probably going to jump off here in the next 10 minutes or so, so we can get out of here and get moving on some things that I need to get done. Again, I'll try to maybe do a live stream sometime this next week, maybe Monday night. Maybe we'll see. To kind of make up for some of this missing Q&A time. I know that that's an important part for a lot of you, is getting some of that Q&A time outside of the project specific stuff. So any other questions on the project itself, on ticketing, anything like that? Let me jump back up to that original question. Okay, so that's everything for the project specific stuff. Once you have access to the repo, you will have access to this project. I assume that you don't have access to it otherwise. Let's find out by going incognito. Yeah, you can't get to it. Okay. No, once you have access to the DeepPockets project repository, you'll have access. It'll be up here. Hang on, let me get to it. Oh, hang on. Let me go back to my repositories, DeepPockets. All right, so it'll be up here in the project tab of the DeepPockets repo. See, the repo's there. I just have to add stuff to it. All right, so it'll be in this tab here, and you'll be able to access the project from there. All right. CW, I'm still having issues on the branching in GitHub. Okay, let me do this, CW. I will either make a video on how to do it, or I might do that Monday night on a live stream. I don't have time to really go through it today. So yeah, I'll write that down. Let me write that down. Hang on. Branching GitHub. It may just not work the way that I want it to work. That could be part of it. I've only used a few things. I've used GitHub for just a few things. And it's worked the way that I feel like it's worked the way that I'm used to. So, yeah, let me do that. I'll do a video walkthrough, or I'll do it on Monday night. One of the two. Either way, if I do a video walkthrough, I'll do it and make sure that it's up Monday night. So, because it'll just be something quick. And I'll attach it to our DeepPockets live stream playlist. So I will do that. Thanks, CW, for the suggestion. If I don't put a video up, I'll just go live and do it live. I'll probably do a video, though, because that way I can edit it. Edit out all my wandering around trying to figure stuff out. Um, it's about the permission to modify your branch. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to modify your branch. I don't know. I'll set up a different account and have access to it and see what's going on. Um, all right. Yeah, no problem, CW. Thanks for letting me know and reminding me. I forgot about that issue. So we'll get that taken care of. All right, back up to Marcelo's question. Says, I just started mentoring people here in Portuguese. Nice. What can you say about mentoring people starting to code? So this is kind of getting on the flip side here. Let me transition back over here. So this is kind of getting on the flip side of being a mentor. Especially from a one-on-one standpoint, the biggest thing that you need to do as a mentor is understand where someone's at from a knowledge and experience standpoint. If they're completely brand new, then it depends. It depends on what they want to do, right? So if they want to go into something that you're familiar with, then you can probably find some tutorials online. You could probably get a book or something like that and help walk them through it. I would be leery about doing a lot of training, if that makes sense. So as a mentor, your job as a mentor is not to train people. That is for tutorial makers. That is for course instructors. And I'm not saying that we don't do training. Obviously, we do training as a mentor. I'm doing training on here about different things, and we'll do more training. I'm not saying that training is not part of the process, but training somebody in the basics of coding, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, in my opinion, is not the role of a mentor. The role of a mentor is to guide someone down the path. So, for example, when you look at a movie, right? So you look at movies, usually movies have a hero and they have a mentor. They have somebody who comes alongside that hero and helps them along the way. So it might be somebody like Obi-Wan Kenobi, since it's Star Wars Day. We'll go with that. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Or it might be someone like Yoda, right? They're going to come alongside Luke and they're going to help the hero on his journey. Sorry, I'm old school, so it's the middle three. So they're going to come alongside. They're going to help Luke on his journey. And you don't really see now with Yoda. Obviously, there's like the training montage, while he's on Dagobah, but you don't really see tons of like teaching the granular things, right? Yes, sort of like a game master from Dungeons and Dragons, although a game master is more involved in the storytelling than they are in mentoring, right? So now sometimes you do have to kind of lead the party along to get them to go where you want them to go. But again, it doesn't really equate because a dungeon master often wants to, or game master wants to take people down their path. And that's not the job of a mentor. The job of a mentor isn't to get people to go the way you want them to go. It's to help them go where they want to go. And so what you're really doing is you're trying to understand where they're at. You're trying to understand where they want to go. So point A, point B. You're helping them understand what are the different places they need to go to get there, right? So what are the things that they need to learn in order to get to this path? What are the maybe job requirements that they're going to need? What are the internships that they're going to want to apply for? If we've got somebody like my son wants to be an engineer, most engineers need to go through a specific flow. They need to go to college and they need to get an engineering degree, and they need to typically have an internship if they want to get into a good job. Having an internship is a good part of that path. So a mentor is going to say, hey, these are the things that you need to do if you want to reach the goal that you have over here. The second piece of that is not just planning out the path, but it's keeping them on that path. because we are very distractible people as in general, but developers especially are very distractible when it comes to shiny new things. We like to learn new things. Everything is cool until we've been using it for a while, then it's not cool anymore. And so we have a tendency to jump around from things that we're working on. Part of a mentor's job is to keep them focused on achieving their goal and following the steps that are going to be necessary to achieve their goal. So I wouldn't focus on trying to help them learn coding. I would point them to things that will help them do that stuff on their own. Because at the end of the day, coding, as much as we talk about mentoring, as much as we talk about community, your day-to-day work is somewhat isolated. It's you doing the work on your computer most of the time. That doesn't mean there's no interaction, things like that, but it's mostly a solitary situation. So they need to learn on their own. All right, because that's how we do our job. We do our jobs on our own for the most part. So those learning pieces specifically should be on their own, but you can help guide them. So one of the things I do, I'm constantly pointing people to Traversy Media on YouTube because he's been very helpful to me in learning new things. And so I really highly recommend him. So I'm going to push people there a lot based on the things that they're looking to learn. If they're looking for something that he doesn't teach, I'm not going to push them there. So I'm going to try to find something else that's going to be a better resource for them. But ultimately, they're going to have to learn that on their own. My job is to come alongside them and help them see what they're missing. And maybe, there are times where I'm going to code with somebody. I'm going to pair program with somebody. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to walk through how I would solve a solution and explain it along the way so that they understand my thought process and they can follow that and they can implement that thought process in the next thing that they do. So it's not that we don't ever talk about code and it's all just this nebulous, mentoring concept. We get into the weeds about things, but especially beginners, they need to learn on their own, with guidance from you on what to learn. And even pressure sometimes if they're not learning things. Like, you don't want to be mean about it, but you need to let them know, hey, if you really want to pursue this, it's going to be hard work. So there's some reality checks too that we have to give them along the way. So hopefully that kind of helps you out from a mentoring standpoint. And again, this is some of the stuff that I want to talk about in upcoming videos is what should you expect from that mentor? What should that mentor expect from you? We kind of talked about that a little bit in that longer mentoring video, but I want to go into more detail on that so that you guys can have a better understanding of what that relationship should look like, especially if it's a real one-on-one consistent relationship. And at the end of the day, Marcelo, really that's what you're looking for. You're looking for consistency from them, and you're looking to be a consistent voice in their journey along the way. And that what that voice is saying may change from time to time. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. Any other quick questions? Let's see. Like a character in the Game Master throws in to stop the campaign going off the rails. Absolutely, Mel. Yeah, great analogy. So a Game Master might bring in an NPC to help bring them back into alignment with where he wants to go. Again, Dungeons and Dragons theoretically should be free, right? For them to do what they want, but we Game Masters, we like for things to work out the way we planned it. But yeah, so you could use like an NPC to do something like that, right? Marcelo says, I think I'll prepare some checklists to learn where they are and others for where they want to go. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great idea. That's an absolutely great idea. Come up with some ideas of, what have you learned so far on your own? Where are you wanting to go? Give me a title of what you want to be in 3 years, or in 5 years, where do you see yourself? What's your goal at the end? Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Again, I thank you everybody for jumping on here. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all the fun things. I assume most people have already subscribed, so I doubt we're at 2,800. Oh, close. We got 3 subscribers. We're at 2,797. So we'll see that probably go over sometime today. But thanks everybody for subscribing. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being part of the live stream. Hopefully it's been a help to you. Looking forward to getting into the code very, very soon on this project. So I know a lot of you are waiting for that. Some people are probably skipping all of this. It's just waiting for the announcement that's we're actually in code. So I get that. I totally get it, but I want to make sure that we've got a good foundation for people who might be new to the project or might be new to projects in general. So anyway, thank you for joining. Thanks for hanging out with me today and sharing your experience, sharing your journey, sharing your questions, and giving me an opportunity to speak into your journey, to speak into your life. I don't take it lightly. It is a huge privilege, and I appreciate that. And so I look forward to seeing you next Saturday, and maybe live sometime this week. I don't know. We'll see. It depends on my schedule. We'll find out. Anyway, have a great day. I will see you all very soon, and we'll get moving forward on this project very, very soon as well. So have a good Saturday. We'll see you.